Welcome back to the Wheelscene YouTube channel. Today I'm in the west end of Glasgow. More specifically, I'm in Partick at the Riverside Museum, which sits on the River Clyde, and this is one of the most well-known skate spots in Glasgow. Skaters have congregated here for years. They skate the ledges out the front, which also double up as manual pads, and over the years they've also put in their own obstacles like rail boxes and ramps. And rather than actively discouraging skaters from skating here or telling them that they can't or capping it, the museum has actually embraced the skate community of Glasgow, and in 2017 they went one step further. The museum tried to think of a way that they could accommodate the skaters and get them away from the front door where they were kind of getting in the way of tourists. So they teamed up with Clan Skateboards, and in 2017 they opened the plaza behind me, which is tucked away in the back of the museum and incorporates some of the original features of the museum's design, such as the curved ledges to my left. There's also a kind of bank spot, there's a skinny quarter pipe, there's a ledge and manual pad behind me, there's a bank to ledge, short ledge, and in the middle there was a kicker ramp and a bank to slappy curb. It didn't really stop skateboarders hanging out around the front of the museum. They still do to this day because they really enjoy skating the manual pads, but it did mean that it created a community around the back of the museum. More people come here to hang out. It's a safe space to skate. It's quite a picturesque location, and unlike some of the skate parks in the city, it's not as prone to having trouble with kids, violence, drugs, alcohol, etc. So I would consider this one of the more user-friendly skate locations in the city. After 5 or 6 years of the Riverside Plaza being in operation and literally hundreds or even thousands of people skating here, it was announced that they were going to be shutting it off for a little while they made a bridge that connects Govan on the south side to Partick on the north side of the Clyde River. And this led a lot of people to worry that it was basically going to end up getting rid of the plaza, or they were going to use it as an excuse. But it turns out the museum actually ended up doing one better at the end of last year and opening up the plaza again, but this time much bigger and with even more obstacles. In addition to maintaining the majority of the original features of the original plaza, they have now widened out the space and included more obstacles like ledges, banks, manual pads and various blocks, and it just makes it a much bigger space, much more user-friendly and much more optimal for beginner skaters, because there's a lot of flat land if you want to just practice your basics. If you're skating or BMXing or scooting or skateboarding, you can practice your kick flips and manuals and things like that on a skateboard, same for on a scooter. Or if you're just on skates or roller skates, you can practice your stopping, turning, 360s, 180s, etc. So it's made it a lot more, I would say, user-friendly and welcoming to beginners as well as experienced skaters. As a whole, I definitely think the new layout of the Riverside Museum is just a little bit more appealing to beginners and people who are not as confident at various extreme sports, because there's a lot of flat ground where they can just practice the basics, and that's good for building the community, encouraging more people, getting more beginners involved, teaching people, and hopefully helping all extreme sports grow. One of my favourite features of the park is this bank setup to slappy curb. They've extended it from the original design that was in the first plaza, and it's just a lot of fun to skate. You may also notice that it's all tiled, which you think would be annoying or not that good for skating, but it just makes a really satisfying noise when you roll around it, and isn't actually that annoying. You don't get caught in the grooves or anything like that. It just makes this kind of satisfying ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk when you're skating along it. On the original design, there were sometimes sharp corners that if you fell you could cut yourself and get opened up a little bit, but that's not as much of an issue now. It's been smoothed out and definitely makes it much more user-friendly. Another new feature of the park is this curve ledge, which looks fun, looks challenging, but also looks as if it could be quite dangerous because it looks quite whippy and as if you could easily wipe out on it. But we'll give it a shot and see how we go. Plus, how many skate parks can you say have got a giant tall ship as a backdrop? I just wouldn't recommend jumping into the River Clyde after a skate session because it is absolutely rank in there. Just got done at Riverside Plaza. I've been here for a couple of hours. I am absolutely knackered. Managed to get a bunch of tricks. Also managed to get a few slams, quite a few slams, a lot of slams. One of the first things you'll notice about the park if you come here is just how unbelievably well looked after it is. It is really clean, there's no rubbish, there's no broken glass, there's no cigarette butts, nothing, and that is because it's on the museum grounds, so they take really good care of it. The entire time I've been here, there's regularly been people walking past, checking on the site. There's been people doing guided tours with tourists. So you can just tell that the entire area is really well maintained. As you can see from this video, there are an absolute stack of obstacles here. There's basically something for everyone. Unless you're into transitions, there's not really transitions. If you're into like street-based obstacles, there's something for everyone. You've got ledges, banks, slappy curbs, little transition-y things, blocks to hop over, manual pads, loads of flat ground if that's what you're into. And some of the obstacles are a little bit harder to skate than others. Some were a little bit less successful than others. For example, there was one of the banks to a ledge, which the actual edge of it was just a bit rough, didn't slide very well. Tried a couple of ken grinds, was basically crawling along it and just gave up. And some of the other obstacles are deceptively difficult to skate. The kind of pyramid bank thing with the slappy curb on the top, the red one right along the middle, I thought it would be relatively easy to get along the whole way, but you had to actually charge at it from about 150, 200 yards. And it took me so many attempts just to get basic grinds like royales, unities, topsouls, top acids. And by the end of it, I was absolutely exhausted. I also managed to take a pretty beautiful slam on a topsoul and just slid down the pyramid on my back, which I'm pretty impressed by. My favourite things to skate were the original ledge, the very first thing that I skated. It was one of the first obstacles here when the plaza was originally built, and it slightly tilts in the way, so when you jump on it, it keeps you on. And if you're doing things like topsides and soul grinds and things like that, it really holds you in there, which I really like. Although if you miss a topside, you've basically just got a pointy, jaggy edge that's ready to stick into your shin. So my recommendation would be don't miss a topside grind on that ledge. Another thing I really liked skating was the curved ledge, but it was a lot sharper than I realised. Just doing like soles and royales around it, I was kind of struggling at first, and then I managed to take a couple of falls trying to do back salve both ways around it. But slides really well, slides really good on top, so you can slide over it, which is really nice. And like I said, the ground here is absolutely perfect. It's tiled, but it doesn't feel tiled in a bad way that it absolutely kills your speed. It just kind of gives a little satisfying noise while you roll over it, and it means it's nice and smooth and doesn't chew up your wheels, which is always a bonus. The position of the plaza is also quite good. Like I said, it's right next to the bridge that links up Govan with Partick, so there's a steady stream of footfall, so there's always something to look at. It's next to the Riverside Museum and the tall ship, so there's always tourists kicking about, and it's basically just a hive of activity. So if it's a nice sunny day, you can come here, sit, have lunch, basically just watch the world go by, and it's a pretty pleasant place to hang out. My one recommendation if you're coming here is do not park in the Riverside Museum car park. It is very expensive, it costs a small fortune. I would recommend driving over to Govan, parking anywhere on the street there. Parking is free because it's not in the city centre, it's on the other side of the river, and then you can just walk across the bridge. Takes less than 5 minutes. There's also a bunch of shops on the Govan side, so if you're wanting food or drink, that's a good place to go. But yeah, if you want to save yourself some money and not waste a fiver or a tenner on parking just for coming here for an hour or two, I would thoroughly recommend parking on the Govan side of the bridge. In summary, I cannot recommend Riverside Plaza enough. I can't overstate how well looked after and clean it is. It's one of the cleanest outdoor skate parks I have ever skated. It's in a nice location. Basically, if you're wanting to hang out for an afternoon, it's good for that. If you're wanting to learn new tricks on the smaller obstacles, also good for that. There's good public transport links because you've got Govan Underground Station just about a 5-10 minute walk away, or you can go into Partick. There's also street skating spots nearby on both sides of the river. So yeah, Riverside Plaza, thoroughly recommend it.